Redeemer Lives, and it will be in Ukrainian, and it's about trusting God in hard times. It said that no matter what happens, we can always say with hope, my Redeemer lives.
Does everyone love AI?
Yes.
A lot of people love AI, but I'll tell you what, this week I tried to get AI to make me an image of something, a picture. And it involved a name tag on that individual's shirt. And I had to create this image, and out in the name tag there were Chinese letters, English letters, Arabic letters, and I thought, this is interesting. AI knows so much of collective humanity, it doesn't know how to put it all into what I need, so you have just random mumble-jumble written here and there. So it was an eye-opening experience for me. And of course, it's developing in our world each and every day. And today, Brother John is going to talk to us a little bit about AI And is it what our world needs? Let us give him our undivided attention.
Welcome to God's house. His word, it's my hope and desire that as we look truths and put them into a new frame, they will speak to our minds and to our hearts. We looked at Proverbs, which is a key text for our consideration. It says, trust not in the Lord, and trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. So as we look at our world today, and there's so much hope and so much prospect and so much desire that new things like, for example, AI is going to do things for humanity that's going to make our world better, that will solve so many of our problems. And we see AI is already doing some of these things. It's being used in all kinds of things. And it's as a consequence of this text in Daniel 12 where it says, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and what will happen? Knowledge shall increase. So we're living in a time of tremendous knowledge that is increasing exponentially, and we are all part of that exponential experience. Ecclesiastes has an interesting text where it talks about, for in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. I thought of this text. How can this relate to us in our time? I mean, is this meaning certain things? What could it be referring to? Could it be referring to an increase of our understanding as humans of our limitations? Could it be, the realization that everything is vanity? Is it the fact that we come to the recognition of the inevitability of suffering? And then as I thought a little bit more about this, we see that the widening of human horizon does not always increase measurable satisfaction. And as we look at the Garden of Eden, we see there a measurable increase of knowledge that took place. Eve was offered the choice of increasing her horizon, making it wider. Did it lead to measurable satisfaction? What do we see in Genesis 3:7? In the case of Adam and Eve, when their knowledge increased, what did they discover? They discovered that they were naked. Was that a measurable increase in satisfaction? Or did that lead to something else? The making of aprons to cover their nakedness. Proverbs 2:5, for the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. So wisdom and knowledge is something that is somewhat specific in terms of what it's going to do depending where it comes from. We saw an increased horizon for Adam and Eve, and what did it do? It brought sin, death, dissatisfaction, nakedness, and all of the things that sin brought into the world. But Proverbs says that wisdom that comes from the Lord, that is a wisdom that is enduring. It is something that leads us to a realization of our nothingness and insufficiency. So as we look at the knowledge in our world, how it's increased, in my lifetime, it's been increasing every 10 years, doubling every 10 years in my lifetime since about 52. every year knowledge doubles. So I have lived at a time and during a generation where I have seen an exponential increase like no other generation before me has ever seen. Look at some of the things that have increased in medicine, in healthcare, in technology, and Wi-Fi, and the study of all kinds of things. It has increased. Just to think a little bit about my lifetime and its increase. You know, when I was a kid, we opened and closed our own garage doors. Okay? There was no garage door opener. We would get out, it was usually me, get out, open the door, Dad drive in, close the door. That's my generation. Opening and closing garage doors really didn't become more popular until the late 70s and into the 80s. How about microwaves? Initially, we did not have a microwave in our house. We had an oven and we had a range. No air fryers, no microwaves, none of this kind of thing. How about church offerings? Church offerings in my day were noisy. Why? Why were church offerings noisy? Nobody put paper in the offering. It was change. Change went into the offering plate. And I remember in the church, when our church was being built there in Canada, there was a discussion, and as a younger teenager, I would hear, let's try to get our church to have silent offerings. What did that mean? Only paper come into the offering. No more change. And my mom was the treasurer, and we would have lots of change, bags of change. It was my job to count the quarters, the nickels, the dimes, and the pennies. Because back then, a gallon of gasoline cost about 30 cents. And that was not a U.S. gallon, that was the imperial gallon. Bigger, 30 cents. So I could fill up the car with gas, $5 bill, and get back significant change. So that would be the equivalent of putting a quarter in, putting in $2, $3 today. So if you put in $1 then, that was like putting in $10 today. This is how time has changed. I can still remember the Wi-Fi coming around. I mean, there's some of you here that are young enough that have never lived in a world prior to Wi-Fi. How that has changed our world. We have all these apps, all of these things that we can do with Wi-Fi. How about GPS? My father was a pastor, and I remember him going visiting people. Mom would be in the car, and we would have this huge map that you had to unroll, kind of unfold. It would take up half the dash. Mom would look at that. She was Dad's Wi-Fi. Big map. And if you traveled in the country, you would have a big book. And Brother Simeon Karvatsky knows about that. When he would travel in Eastern Europe, he would have to see, where the roads go. You didn't have Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi didn't come into existence in the sense of the public until Ronald Reagan. You know what brought Wi-Fi into the world as we know it, initially pushing it forward into civilian use from military use? The downing of the Korean airliner by the Soviet Union that veered out of its airspace not knowing it was in Russia and was shot down. And so Ronald Reagan decided we need to have Wi-Fi for civilian use. And then you know who brought it into public use? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton decided it should be for everybody and really promoted the Wi-Fi in 2000. So about 25 years ago. I remember my first iPhone. My first iPhone is right up there. Do you see that phone? That weighed like a brick. It was big like this. That was the first iPhone. It was very expensive. About $4,000 for the first Wi-Fi. And there is my first computer. See it there? I got that computer in the middle to late 70s. It was a Franklin K1000. I still remember it. Big thing. It looks small there. It's the size of a typewriter, but see that space extending in the back? That was huge. And I spent more money for that computer than I have ever spent for a computer since that day. That's how much money I spent for that. A lot of money for that computer. And you know, it couldn't do very much. You'd run with a floppy and external hard drive, and that was the first computer. But I'll tell you, I did things with it. I was so proud of that first computer. I didn't only use it in my office. You know what I did with it, Diane and I? And I'm making a confession here now. This is before, telephone soliciting was illegal. I had it programmed. It could auto dial, and on weekends and evenings I had it programmed, and you know what I did? I set it on auto dial mode, and it called entire neighborhoods in this area, offering steps to Christ and great controversy for anyone who wanted one. I used it for auto dial. Of course, that telephone soliciting became illegal, and we ceased to do that. But that was the first use of that computer. Now, the term AI is actually quite old, 1956. John McCarthy, Marvin McKinsey, they coined that term, and it wasn't really much. It was a term, but by definition here, artificial intelligence refers to the ability of a computer system to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These tasks include learning, problem solving, decision making, all kinds of things. They try to mimic and to exceed human cognitive abilities in the form of a machine. And so the hope and the desire is that AI is going to do all kinds of things. Here are some of the things that they're hoping it will do. Okay, it's going to help with tracking climate change. It can solve problems. It can be used to invent things. It can be used in research, enhancing human cognitive ability, scientific discovery. You know, a list here, okay? All these different things. Healthcare. Maybe you'll be able to go to the doctor and AI will make the diagnosis. How about you go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy, the AI there, fills your prescription. It'll do everything for you. Maybe you'll go to school and there'll be no more teachers. AI will do all the educating and the teaching. Transportation, customer service. Wow, I remember you used to walk into a bank, and there was actually, that's how you banked. You walked into the bank, and there were bankers there, and you transacted whatever. Now you walk into a bank, and who's there? Nobody. If you want to see a banker, you have to make an appointment. See, certain jobs have seen replacement. The same thing with travel. I used to have a travel agency. Now what do? You get online and you make all your travel plans automatically through the web. Scientific discovery, financial services, agricultural improvement, and of course, enhanced cybersecurity. So, will AI solve the quest for truth? Will AI solve the quest for truth? I've given a new definition here to disobedience. Disobedience results in the quest for knowledge outside of God's will. That's what disobedience is. Increased knowledge, the quest for knowledge, and we saw that in the Garden of Eden at the very beginning. Now, it's interesting. If you ask AI, and I did that, what does the Bible say? What does the fourth commandment mean? This is what AI tells you. Very interesting. It's a specific day for rest and worship. Specific day, see? Jumping around a little bit, it's been observed on Sabbaths before. But the Christian world observes the Sabbath on Sunday, the first day of the week, to commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So there's what AI tells us about the Sabbath. And I want to share with you this fact. I believe AI was in the Garden of Eden. Artificial intelligence What was the artificial intelligence in the Garden of Eden? The serpent. Was the serpent a creation that could talk? No, it was AI. The devil gave that serpent a capacity to deceive. And AI is what resulted, artificial intelligence, in the destruction of the human race and making bad choices. It was already there. The very first AI in the garden. So I don't want to say I don't believe in AI, but I would like to redefine it as augmented intelligence. That is the AI that you and I need. This AI features God in partnership with man. Augmented intelligence, God and man. This features decision-making and problem-solving approach that synergistically relies on a relationship between the human and the divine. If you have this augmented intelligence, this AI, you will be able to experience what Philippians 4:13 says. I, help me, can do what? All things through Christ that strengthens me. Oh, friends, we need AI. We need augmented intelligence. And only as we look at God do we recognize our deficiency, our frailty, our stupidity in the things of life that we so often engage in. Augmented intelligence. Here is a Spirit of Prophecy quote describing this augmented intelligence. Whenever man accomplishes anything, whether in spiritual or temporal lines, he should bear in mind that he does it through cooperation with his Maker. There is great necessity for us to realize our, what's that bold word? Dependence on God. Too much confidence is placed in man. Too much reliance on human inventions. There is too little confidence in the power of God, which He's ready to give us. Oh, friends, we need AI. We need DI, divine intelligence, augmented intelligence, enabled to make good choices and good decisions. We place too much confidence in what? Human. What did I say? Human inventions. And we do that as individuals. We even do that as a church. What do we often think is going to happen and finish the work? Maybe we're going to use social media. We're going to use the Wi-Fi, the web. We're going to have all of these things. Brothers and sisters, we need divine intelligence, DI, and we need to have less reliance on human inventions. May God help us to see old truths in a new light. A great work following this thought by what? Simple means. Let's see what inspiration tells us in this statement. The striking feature of divine operation is the accomplishment of the greatest work that can be done in our world by very simple means. He moves upon human forces, see, divine and human working together, causing His Spirit to touch invisible chords, and the vibration rings to the extremity of the universe. Oh, friends, I don't know about you, But this is inspirational to me. This kind of AI I would like to experience. And I wish everybody in our church can feel this. You know, that force, that simple, very simple force, that invisible force that strikes the human cores, which vibrates to the extremity of the universe. Oh, friends, we need AI. But what kind? What kind of AI do we need? See, this Bible text to Zerubbabel takes to me now in this framework a new understanding. What does the Bible say? Not by might, not by power, but by what? By my Spirit, says the Lord. Oh, friends, there is too much trust in self. There is too much confidence in what I can do, what we can do. Too much and too little reliance on the simple things. I challenge you to make a word study on simple in the spirit of prophecy. It's very interesting what you will find. She ties it to so many things. Simple remedies. Simple, simple, simple. Let's get away from the complexity of this world. And let's focus on the simplicity and yet the immeasurable divinity and vastness of divine intelligence. That is needed to change our world, to change our hearts, and to change our lives. I hope that everyone after our study today will be determined, convinced, convicted to experience divine intelligence in their lives. You see, the doctors of the law, the lawyers, the great theologians, they have taken away the key of knowledge. They don't enter themselves, and they prevent others from entering. Oh, friends, let's not in our human wisdom take away the key to divine knowledge. We don't enter, and we prevent others from entering. Lack of knowledge. What does Hosea says? My people is destroyed for, what are those words? Lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, what will God do? He's also going to reject us. It's not the knowledge we're rejecting of this world. We are rejecting divine knowledge and replacing it with artificial intelligence. The same artificial intelligence that Eve used and was deceived by and was governed by and decided as a result of in the Garden of Eden. Oh, friends, augmented intelligence, focusing on enhancing human capabilities rather than replacing them. Enhancing them how? As a consequence not of touching the artificial. The answer for you and me is not reaching out to the artificial AI, touching it. Oh, if I can just have that help me. We need to reach out and touch DI, divine intelligence, augmented intelligence. That's the touch that's going to change the world. That's what's going to transform your life. That's what's going to give you peace, joy, and everlasting life. You see? You and I need AI. Humanity needs divine augmentation. Divine intelligence. I hope that each one in church today recognizes the hand of God reaching out to you where you are. Reaching out to you in order for you to connect with that source of intelligence. Because only as you are connected to that source can you make good choices. Only when you are connected can you become more like Him. Can there be a transformation in life and character, in mind. You see, This is the classic idea that we're reaching out to the artificial, but we're not reaching out to the divine. We are living in what period? The Laodicean period. In the Laodicean period, there is artificial intelligence which says, I am rich. I'm increased with goods. I'm clothed. I have everything. What kind of intelligence is that? That is ignorance. That's not divine intelligence. Laodicea does not recognize that they are poor, blind, miserable, and naked. That can only come as a consequence of being connected to divine intelligence. Let me share this. We really think we know and understand. Look what Jeremiah says. No man of himself understand his errors. Did you know that? The heart is, what is the heart? Oh, she's got such a good heart. He has such a good heart. They're such good people. The heart is deceitful. Deceitful how? Above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Oh, friends, if just this Bible verse would be comprehended and understood completely, what a different me I would be. What a different you would be. How different our world and our church would be. What did we say? No man can understand himself. So often we think, I understand. I know. You don't know. You can't understand. You know, sometimes you tell children, you tell a child, okay, I want you to do this. Oh, I don't understand, or I don't get it. This doesn't make sense. No, this is not how it is. No, that's because we are lacking divine intelligence. That's why we don't know. We all know these statements, but just to put them in this context in a fresh frame. The lips may express a poverty of soul that the heart does not acknowledge. While speaking to God of poverty of spirit, the heart may be swelling with the conceit of its own superior humility and exalted righteousness. In one way only can a true knowledge of self be obtained. How? By beholding Christ. That's the only way the heart can be changed. We're living in a Laodicean period, which is a period of ignorance, at a time of vast increase of knowledge in the world, but ignorance. This is the only way we can be saved. The religious services, the prayers, the praises, the penitent confession of sins ascending from the believer as incense to heaven will pass, and God will accept them. We can do all of these good things. Is that what that says? You can be praying, you can be preaching, you can be teaching the Sabbath school lesson, you can be doing missionary work, you can be doing all of those things, but how are they? They are unacceptable to God. Why? We are sinners. We are corrupt. And even when we do good things, what happens? They are corruptible. They are not suitable to come into the presence of God. But they have to pass through a certain channel. See, they come through corrupt channels. They are so defiled that unless purified by the blood, they can never be of value with God. We have to stop thinking that we can do good things. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do right things. Doesn't mean that. But let's recognize that when we do our best, it is what? Unacceptable to God. Without passing through the cleansing blood of Jesus Christ, they are unacceptable. Of course, when they are blended, then they ascend not in a spotless purity, but unless the intercessor who is at God's right hand presents and purifies all by his righteousness, it is not acceptable to God. Oh, friends, let's recognize our heart is deceitful, desperately wicked. There's nothing good. We need divine intelligence. We need to connect to the AI, which is augmented, not artificial, augmented by God. All the incense going on from earthly tabernacles must be moist with the cleansing drops of the blood of Christ. He holds before the Father the censer of his own merits. He gathers into his censers the prayers, the praises, and confessions of his people. And with these he puts his spotless righteousness. Our righteousness is as filthy rags, even when we seek to do good things. We need his spotless righteousness to perfume things. And then God can answer our prayers. We are safe only as we exalt Christ. That's our only safety. We need to seek to humble self. Oh, may you be convicted today. Every one of you in the recesses and the privacy of your heart, that what you need and what I need is humbling of humanity in the exaltation of God. May we recognize that. God wishes us to have a mastery over self. But he cannot help us without our consent and cooperation. The divine Spirit works through the powers and the faculties given to man. Of ourselves, we are not able to bring the purposes and desires and inclinations into harmony. But if we are willing, are you willing today? Willing to be made willing. The Savior will accomplish this for you. Our heart is wicked. We can't accomplish it. But are you willing? Are you willing today to be made willing to allow him to accomplish through his divine intelligence in you what you cannot do of yourselves? Bringing into captivity every thought. Can you imagine that? To the obedience of Christ. Every single thought. When the soul surrenders, these are important words, itself to Christ, a new power takes possession. Let us surrender our intelligence, our artificial intelligence. A change is wrought which man can never accomplish for himself. Let's stop trying. Let's stop trying to be good and make ourselves good and do good things. It is a supernatural work, divine intelligence, bringing a supernatural element into the human nature. The soul that is yielded to Christ becomes his own fortress, which he holds in a revolted world, and he intends that no authority shall be known in it but his own. A soul thus kept in possession by the heavenly agencies is impregnable to the assaults of Satan. You know what? When divine intelligence and human come together, augmentation manner, you know what happens? You become an impregnable fortress. There's nothing that can cause us to sin, to fall. But without it, we are nothing. We cannot even understand ourselves, who we are and what we are. But unless we do yield ourselves to the control of Christ, we shall be dominated by the wicked one. Unless we become vitally connected with God, we can never resist the unhallowed effects of self-love, indulgence, temptation, and sin. Never, never, never. Friends, in summarizing, D-I-N-A-I, we need it. You and I need a vital personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We need it not just on Sabbath. We need it not just when we were baptized or converted or we came forward at some appeal, in church, at a conference where the pastor appeals people to come forward. We don't need it only then. Those are good. We need it every day, every moment, a vital, personal connection with Christ. I've highlighted these 3 points from these paragraphs we read from the Spirit of Prophecy. We need to experience a consenting, cooperating, surrendering experience with Jesus Christ. Consenting, cooperating, surrendering to a higher intelligence, to a higher power, to divine intelligence. It's the only way that we will be able to save ourselves, our families, or be saved as a church. And so in closing, it's my hope and prayer that we may be able to say these words that the Apostle Paul said. As a consequence of a personal, intimate connection with Jesus. He experienced divine intelligence. When he was struck, when he made that touch, there were sparks flying in his life. And he made choices and decisions that led to a remarkable man. He could say, and I hope each one of us will be able to say this too, I am persuaded, for I know. Why do I know? Because I've consented. I've cooperated. See? I have been connected, in whom I have believed. And he is able. Why? Because when you connect that way, you become impregnable to keep that which he hath committed unto him against that day. May this be the expression of your words, and your thoughts is my wish and prayer. Amen.